All right, well, so I've cleaned up the scars on the inside of this hub, and I think they're not going to cause any trouble. I just used a little emery cloth and smoothed them out. The other one is a little worse, and I'm going to have to take a little more metal off to make it smooth, but we'll figure that out. So here's the race. This is the one I haven't put in yet, and it goes in the other hub. This one I started, and I have a little 12-ton press here, and it goes right in. I lubed it up a little bit, and let me get this all set here. Yeah, I lubed up the hub and the outside of the race, and it went right in smooth. So I'll go ahead and finish that off right now. And I think it bottoms out, so I'll know when it's at the bottom. I think the important thing here is to make sure you get your plunger right in the center so that you get a nice even press. There we go. And you can see it just goes right in. I can feel it giving way. And yeah, that should be the bottom right there. So let me back off here. Can see what it looks like. Now we're not quite to the bottom yet, so I'm going to keep going. It has another 1/8 of an inch to go, perhaps. So I'm going to go a little further, and actually I'm going to inspect this just to be sure everything's going smoothly, because once you get this in there, you have to beat it up to get it out. So I'll check on this, and I'll be right back. All right, I pulled all this apart and looked at it, and it looks like it's going in nice and straight. And it was pushing back quite a bit, so I panicked a little bit. I think it's fine. I'm going to keep going. And, yep, there it goes. My only concern is my washer's bottoming out before the race does. And if that's the case, then I'll have to use another tool. That looks like I got it all the way, so I'm going to back this off a little bit here so that I can take a look and see where we are. Yep, that looks perfect. So you can see that new race in there. It's actually called a bearing cup, I believe. And if you look in the other end here, you can see the wide part of it. And it looks like it's seated right up against the rim that it's supposed to be seated against. So that's the small one, and it looks perfect. So I'm happy about that. This kind of procedure is one of those things that always scares me. This hydraulic press just has a lot of pressure, 12 tons, and lots of things can go wrong. So when I use this, I try to be really careful and make sure that everything is going smoothly. I never want to put more pressure on it than I really need to. Anyway, worked out great. I'm going to go do the other one, and then we'll turn this over and see if we can't get the larger race in the other end. And that'll be a little trickier because I got to find a tool that will act as a press and be exactly the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one of these small ones, and then I'll be back to you with the larger one, and we'll see how that one goes. All right, I decided to go ahead and show you the second small one. And again, there's the race. I've already lubed it. I've lubed the inside there. And I also took the took the bump off the damage on the bottom side of this hub. I used some emery cloth, and I also have a real small round file, and I just used the very end of it to shave off the largest part of the gouge that was sticking out, and then smoothed it out with the emery cloth. That seemed to work pretty well, so I think we're in good shape there. But I'm going to show you just pressing this bearing in, and I think the important thing is to get it nice and straight, and I'm using these two washers that are just the right size to take the pressure from the plunger here. Let's see if I've got room. Yeah, there we go. So we got to get this lined up so that we're nice and centered. And I think, with the plunger and if you get it centered, the whole thing wants to go in straight, so it shouldn't get cockeyed at all. So we'll just start slowly and make sure that it's going in all around. Yep, looks good. Looks like it's going in nice and straight. Looks like it hit the end right there. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, so let's check it out and see how it looks. Alright, so there's the race in there, and that one looks nice and straight. And when I look at the back, it looks like it's seated all the way in. So that was successful. I think we're in good shape. So now we'll set up the press for the larger race, because it goes in first. It also goes the opposite direction. Interestingly, the bearing on the outer bearing goes in kind of the opposite direction of the inner bearing, I believe. So we'll take a look at that and make sure we got those in the right way. But I looked in the directions and the manual, and I'm pretty confident we got it going the right direction. All right, so I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll get set up for the next one. So I just wanted to show you before we get much further with this, the scoring, the damage I did to the hub using my punch. You can see right there, I'm pointing to it with this, the end of a file. There's a little hole right there and a gouge that starts all the way down here. Notice also there's a little ridge here. So when you put the new seat or the new bearing cup in, you got to get past that. Look at this one. This one's even worse. Notice the big gouge right there. And then there's a big lip on either side of it. So I've tried putting the cup in there, and I just haven't found any piece yet to use with my press to get this down in there. And it seems to start, but I think I'm getting hung up on those pieces, the uneven surface that I created by messing it up. But if I could find a nice steel, something very solid to put in there to pick up this little edge, I'm pretty sure I could get those in there in no time flat. So that's what I'm looking for. Let me show you the other one. The other one's not as bad, but it's also, you can see in this one, in this one right about there, there's a big hole right there and one right there. They're actually pretty minor, really just big scratches, if anything, right there. Same problem. Anyway, I'm gonna figure out how to press these in, and then we'll put in the these collars here go right in over the top, and those seem like they're going to be a really tight fit too. So I'll have to maybe do a little emery cloth around there and some lube for sure, and then get something. I think I can find something big enough to press that in. That shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, that's where we are. So once I get this figured out, I'll get right back to you and we'll get on with it. All right, so I was able to get the inner race in, and I used a washer that fits right there. And at first I didn't want to use it because I was afraid I would bend it or tear it up, but I thought, well, I can always get another one if I need to. It's the only thing I have in the entire shop that fits in that hole and picks up the lip of that perfectly. So I stacked a couple more washers on top of it, and was able to press that in. It worked great. I'm not sure it's in there perfectly straight though, but I think what I'm going to do is put this next piece on, this collar that fits right on here. I'm going to run that in, and hopefully that'll take care of any extra pushes that that thing needs on it. So I'm using that old broken piston as a tool to press this collar on. It's exactly the same size. The skirt, it's incredibly the same size. So I'm going to set it on here, straighten everything out, and see if I can get this started, and see if this is going to work. So the thing is to get it going straight. Of course, this thing wants to get all crazy here. Okay. I already see it's going in a little crooked, so I'm gonna take pressure off and take another whack at it here, and move over just a smidge, try to get this just right. Yeah. Yep, that's going to go right on in there. That's perfect. Now we'll see if it bottoms out on that race inside. I sort of think it won't. It seemed like there was a small gap in there before, so we're just going to run it down. And this one, I mean, you can't really go too far because the lip of it is on the outside of this hub. So all I'm going to do is press it in and make sure that it's in there all the way around. Give it one more little, just to be sure I don't want to wreck anything. And there we go. So this hub is ready. It's got the collar, it's got the inner race, and it's, I'm sorry, the inner race here, and then the outer race right there, and it's ready to go. All right, I'm going to go get the other one, and we'll go through the same process. I'll show you how we did the first part with the outer race. Be right back. I've gotten started now on the second hub, the outer race, and so I got the washer, a stack of washers down in there, and it seems to be going in pretty well. We'll get it in here as best we can. Yeah, it looks like it right there. And so let's take a look at our setup here and see if we successfully, oh yeah, that one looks great. So you can see the inner race is nice and pressed in there, and it looks like it's in very straight, and doesn't appear to be any gaps on the little shoulder that it sits on. So the next step now is going to be to give ourselves some room on the press here for the piston, and We're going to go get that other collar and press it in, just like we did the other one. So I'm going to get a little bit of lube on this. And get that right there. Get my piston piece in here. That worked pretty well last time. Get it straight. Straight as we can. And it's already crooked. Back off a little bit. I'll try getting it squared away here. Well, it's just getting more crooked as we go. So you can see how it got started pretty crooked there. So I'm going to have to do a little adjusting here. I don't want to beat the thing up, but I do need to get it going straight. So what I'm going to try here, what am I going to try here? I'm going to try to just put some pressure on the one side and see if I can get it to even itself out. Otherwise I got to pound it out and kind of start over. I'll try not to do that. So let's see if we can do it this way. That worked great. Let's take a look. Yeah, that looks nice and straight now. So I'm going to make room for the piston, and then we're going to take another run at this. It should go all the way in this time. And again, I'm always afraid of this press because I get afraid of all kinds of stuff in the shop. But as long as you keep your hands out of the way and make sure you see progress, it's pretty safe, I think. That's it right there. All right. Well, I've been worrying about these hubs for a couple of days now. Trying to figure out how to get the old stuff out and get the new stuff in. It looks like we've conquered it, so I'm feeling good about that. So the next, I need to work on the actual axle itself, and I'm going to need to press some bearings onto that, and so I'll be looking into that, and we'll continue on. I'll finish up this video, and then we'll just make the second half of this move forward with putting the front axle on. So thanks for hanging in there. That was fun. Talk to you later. All right, before we wrap up this video, I just wanted to show you what the spindle is going to look like and how the hub interacts with it. So here's the spindle. It of course points out. I'm pointing it this way just for purposes so you can see it better. There's a little ridge here, and then there's a surface here, and then there's another lower ridge here, kind of an unfinished piece here with a little lip right here, and then a smooth armature, and then a threaded section with cotter pin hole right there. So the way this goes together is the felt washer goes on first, and I don't want to, well, I'll just show you this. Then the bearing goes on, the larger one, and you see how it's beveled, it's pointed towards the tire, towards the wheel. Now this is going to have to get pressed on without tearing it up, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. But it sits, oh, I'm sorry, there's a seal first, an oil seal, which is weird because there's no oil in here. But what there will be is grease, because you're going to pack these bearings before you put them on. So this goes on like this, and it also has to be pressed on to this surface down here. So it goes right about here, rests on this shoulder right here. Then the bearing goes on, pointed that way. It rests on this surface here. And then the last thing that goes on is the outer bearing. It's a much smaller one, and it goes on the opposite direction. And it doesn't go on until the hub goes on. So the hub goes first, and it covers up all of this, and then this spindle will stick through right here out to about here, and this bearing goes right in there, and it slides right on this. It doesn't have to be pressed on like this inner one. And then there's a washer, a castle nut, which I'm cleaning right now, and then the cotter pin. And then all of that gets covered up by the hubcap, which screws in. It's got big threads right in here. So you can see those threads if you look at it like that, maybe. Kind of like that. Yeah. All right, so that's where we're headed. Now that we got everything inside the hubs, we're kind of ready. I mean, we don't want to do all this before we paint all this, I don't think. So I think the next thing is to reassemble this whole piece, make sure it's degreased, and perhaps paint it separately, and then attach it, and then, well, then press the bearings on and the seal, and then attach it to the tractor. So that's the direction we're going with the front end. And I'll wrap this video up with this section, and then I'll start another second half of this video as we start working with these spindles and the rest of this. All right, take care.